I love it. Folks, I'm Kurt. I'm with Manana No Mas. I help people find success in business. And this week has been like a pretty exciting week in like the confirmation bias that comes with helping people find success in business. So let's talk about a couple verticals. One, I'm in the power sports vertical. That's motorcycles, UTVs, snowmobiles, personal watercraft. Pardon me, things like that. Some of them even have a little bit of agriculture mixed in. So I help people in that business space, especially. That's like my specialty, right? Like I can help somebody literally double their service revenue in the first year. So that's kind of the thing that we love to do. The marine space. Let's talk about selling boats. It is amazing. It is absolutely amazing to me that so many business owners, I get them on these calls. We talk. Sometimes we do in-person consulting, but we get them on Zoom calls primarily, and we start to go back and forth about what does your business look like, what's your process look like. We have a curriculum, so we follow a plan, and as we go through this curriculum, you might find it shocking. I'm getting to where it's not shocking anymore, but there are large gaps in process. Maybe it's not following up with sales. For instance, I was talking with a large marine dealership, and this large marine dealership, we were talking about their follow up process and the use of a CRM, right, customer resource management tool, and things like that. Now, this place is sharp, man. This place is sharp. They sell lots of boats. They sell lots of service. The guys running the store are sharp as a tack, man. They're great dudes. Like I love talking to these guys. And when we share things, I'm able to share things off the curriculum with them, right? So I want to make sure I'm giving you the right impression about who I'm working with. I'm working with a team of professionals where I can go off curriculum. I can go down rabbit trails and I can find gold nuggets for these guys outside the curriculum because they're so dialed on so many things that it's making growth a hoot. I mean, it's making it a lot of fun because I'm able to add value to them that I don't often get to add to other stores. A lot of stores I talk to, I mean, man, let's just be honest. We're trying to get to a base level of understanding. We're trying to get to a baseline where we say now you're a functional business. Now with continual development, we can get you where you need to be. This store is different. This store, these guys were already at a great baseline. And so we're having great conversations. But here's where the poof happens. Sorry, I'm still getting over this flu thing, but like, right, mind blown. We're talking about CRMs, we're talking about sales follow up, and I said, well, it's really important we have 100% sales follow up, on the units we sell and the units we don't sell. And they start laughing, and I'm like, okay, I hit a nerve. What's the giggle for? Well, we do a really good job of following up with the people that buy, but we really don't follow up with people that don't. Okay, what did that unlock? Folks, I want you to, and the example I used in class, maybe it's not the best example, right? Because it's like you're mixing religion and retail together. But I said, look, Easter's next week. And if you're a person of faith right now, chances are your pastor is trying to get you to invite people to church. And here's why they're trying to get you to invite people to church. Multiple studies show that if you were to ask people that don't go to church, if you would say, would you go to church if somebody asked you? The number is shocking. It's anywhere between like 64 and 82%, right? Different studies show different things. But more than half would go to church if someone just asked them if they wanted to go to church. So think about that. People come to your store. They're looking at boats. They leave. They didn't buy a boat. You never call them. You never text them. You never email them again. Like you're mad at them or something. How many people, if asked, would make a purchase? See, that's the thing that gets to me, right? How many people, if asked, would make a purchase? What do you think the growth is going to be in that store when they install the new CRM this month and they start doing 100% follow up on sales? And I made it very clear. Follow up on sales is a 100% venture. Do not let your salespeople pre-qualify customers with their own wallets because you have no idea what the customer is able to spend, right? You can't judge a book by its cover. You have to approach each lead as if it's a potential sale, and you need to do 100% follow up on each potential sale. And if you do 100% follow up and you actually ask people to make the purchase with you, chances are pretty high that you're going to have conversion. In the boat world, if you sell one boat, you paid for the CRM for the year. Just to be clear, with the margins on boats, if you sell one boat, you paid for your CRM for the year. So this is a really great example of picking up those gold nuggets. Now, earlier in the week, I spoke to a different group of dealers in the marine space. And with that group of dealers, we're in a similar space as in finding some gaps. Okay. But in this particular class, we were reviewing fixed operations. We were reviewing service, which happens to be my specialty. And as we were going through some repair orders and auditing some repair orders as a group, we determined that there was a lot of room for growth in how they managed the repair orders. So much so that I said, by a show of hands, based on the training we've had today, how many of you feel like you could absolutely double your service revenue for your department without having to hire additional technicians or capitalize new equipment? Every hand in the class went up. Every hand in the class went up because there were examples where let's just pick an example, right? Like the repair order was $350. And when I read the repair order and I saw what was done and I saw what the technician did and the story the technician had written, but the paperwork didn't really reflect what the technician had done, I said, that's $1,000 ticket. That should be $1,000. Keep in mind, folks, I am not teaching people how to rip off customers. I am teaching people how to not rip themselves off in dealing with customers. So you have to understand where this training is. I am fully embedded in my business ethics. I do not tell people to rip customers off or take advantage of old ladies or any of that weird stuff. But you also need to protect yourself as a business. You can't be giving things away all the time. You have to charge parts and labor for the parts and labor you put on somebody's boat, motorcycle, car, truck, airplane, whatever. That wasn't happening when I audited these ROs. So as a business group, I said, based on the training that we've been through just today, how many of you feel like you could take action, double your departmental revenue without even having to hire a technician or capitalize new equipment? And every hand in the class went up. Folks, I want you to think about that. Let's say the training cost 20 grand. Let's say the training cost 40 grand. Hell, let's say the training was six figures and somebody paid me $100,000 for that training. That is just one session out of many. And these guys, after training in that one session, said, oh, we could double our departmental revenue this year based on what you just taught us. If you're doing $1 million a year in service revenue, and now you're going to do $2 million a year in service revenue, is it worth six figures for training? Yes. Would it be worth $500,000 for training? Yes, because you'd still have a 2x return on investment. Folks, I can't make this up. I wish that I could make this up, but I can't. These are the results that we see in training when we deal with businesses and we consult businesses from an outside looking in position. That's the important part. A lot of times when you're in business, you're struggling day to day and you're just trying to keep the thing moving. You don't see all the gaps. You don't see what the customer sees. You don't see things that are absolutely missing in the space, right? That was just one example out of that class. We had other examples within that same class that would lead to additional revenue. Let me just share one with you. Because I'm feeling generous today. All right. And this is for people that do like the Power Sport Academy with me, that do the Marine Retailers Association certification with me, and for people that want to do basic business consulting with Mañana No Mas or Kurt Von Ahnen. You can go to kurtvonanen.com and you'll see that we offer public speaking, training, consulting, and all that stuff right there. I have them submit a parts obsolescence report. Okay. So what that means is, let's say you're a retailer, and let's say you're a retailer in any business space. I don't care what the business space is. You're a retailer. You pull an inventory report. you pull an obsolescence report. An obsolescence report, pardon me, an obsolescence report for the purpose of this talk is anything that's older than 12 months. So dealership sends me the report. It's 5 pages long, and it goes as far back as 72 months. So it's got 6 years worth of inventory sitting there that hasn't been sold within 6 years. And that's not all of it, right? Because it goes in descending order up until 12 months. So in this example, there's a hitch for $400. There's 3 or 4 hitch mounts in stock that are $300 a piece. There's a different hitch. There's a windscreen that's like, I don't know, $600. There's these different things. Now, whatever business you're in, you can pull an inventory report and you can say, well, how long has it been since we've turned that? Now, your goal in business is to turn things what? 2 times, 3 times, 4 times a year, right? For different products, you're going to have different goals. Like if I was selling oil filters and oil, I would expect, a 6 or 7 times turn for a single year on any one of those consumable products. But let's say we're looking at hard products. We're looking at things, and I don't care if I'm selling earrings, if I'm selling women's shoes, if I'm selling, CDs. I don't care what I'm doing. I want to look at my inventory. What products are moving? What products are not moving? If it hasn't been sold within a year, it's obsolescent inventory, meaning there's not an active market for it. Okay. So I take a look at this obsolescence report. Now, I already gave you a few examples. I took the liberty of adding up the obsolescence report for the 5 pages just on the big items. Just on, like, I'm not counting washers, screws, bolts, and rivets. I'm talking about hard parts. Okay, real things, hitches, windscreens, things like that. I come up to about $30,000. Okay, now I want you to get into a business mindset when I say $30,000. That is not just $30,000. In a lot of businesses, that's $30,000 that's being carried on some kind of a loan, some kind of a note, something that has interest on the back end of it. Okay. So it's not just 30 grand that you're sitting there doing nothing with, it's 30 grand that you're paying interest on. And even if the interest rate's 2%, you're just still paying interest on it. So it's costing you money to store the part. Now, think about this. How big are these parts? Where are you storing these parts? If your business is, let's say, $10 a square foot per year, right? And you've stored a $400 part for 6 years, it's another $60 in part storage. I just want you to think about that, right? Like sometimes I get a little too lost in the details, but I want, for the purpose of this talk, that's important. So this part cost $400, but it really cost $460 because I had to store it for 6 years at $10 a square foot inside my store. But not only that, it's the $460 plus the interest that I've paid on it. And even if that was just 2% a year, I'm still looking at, another 20, 30, $40, right? So think about how that works, because interest compounds. And so this part is now $500. It's $600. I want you to think in those terms. What is the part doing for me? It's doing nothing. It's doing nothing for me. I don't have peace of mind because I have it on the shelf. My service department doesn't have peace of mind because we have it in stock. Nobody's using it. It hasn't sold in 6 years. So my challenge was this. Now, this was a group of 6 stores. So 6 stores are on the call. And for one of the examples, I come up with this. I say, well, now you got 30 grand. How much is that worth? Even if you mark it down, remember the report is in cost. So it cost $30,000 to have these large components sitting on a shelf doing nothing. Retail, what's the retail value of that? And guy goes, I don't know, $60,000, $70,000. Okay, 60 or 70 grand. Let's say you mark it down. You put it on a clearance sale and you could still clear $50,000 on a clearance sale. Are you losing money? And they go, no, we're not losing money. I said, you're getting close, right? Because you're paying storage and interest and all those things. But you could sell that product at a 25, 30% discount on a clearance rack, on a clearance sale through eBay Motors or anywhere, right? And think about whatever business you're in, right? You're the clearance table at the mall if it's a shoe store. Move those items to clearance, advertise them, and get them gone. Generate the revenue. So I asked another question and I said, out of the stores that are on this call, how many of you feel like you could leverage this obsolescent inventory in your store and generate between $30,000 and $50,000 in the next 4 months? Every hand went up. Every hand went up. Now I want you to think about this. Now we're talking about a situation where there's 6 stores, okay? 6 stores. They're all going to double their service revenue and they're all going to generate $50,000 within the next 4 months. That's $300,000. 6 point. So yesterday's training was worth $6,300,000 in revenue opportunity. I stress revenue opportunity because keep in mind, we train it, but they got to follow through and do it. We train it, but they got to follow through and do it. In both of those situations, who did they have to hire? Nobody. They have to hire anybody. They already have people in staff. Who did they have to overwork or burn out to get these results? Nobody. All people got to do is do their job. I'm not asking anybody to work overtime, put in extra, go crazy, extend themselves beyond human capability. None of that. I'm saying you don't have to hire anybody and you don't have to burn anybody out to make these goals happen. What equipment do you need to capitalize? Nothing. They can list stuff on eBay. They can put up a table and make a clearance sign out of cardboard and sell stuff. They can put stuff on their Facebook page, their YouTube channel, their Instagram, their TikTok, their whatever, and talk about the great new clearance sale at XYZ Motors. And they can begin to move some product. If they've got a CRM, they're going to send out a mass email that's going to say, "Hey, we've got a new clearance sale. We've got all these great products that we can liquidate. If you've got an older boat and you're looking for a hitch for your trailer, here it is. If you're looking for a windscreen for your ATV, here it is." Folks, this is what we need to do. We need to help these dealerships generate revenue. Right now, a bunch of dealerships are sitting on inventory they can't sell. There's a ton of inventory out there right now. Look at the RV business, look at the automotive business. Remember in the pandemic, if you wanted to buy a Ford Bronco, it was like 25, 30 grand over MSRP. Go to the dealership today and see what you can buy a Ford Bronco for. I wouldn't be surprised if you could buy the thing for $1,500 over invoice. That's the difference in how things have affected business right now. So the big products aren't moving like they were during the pandemic. So a lot of people had a false sense of security. They were like, sales carries the whole store. Sales doesn't carry the whole store. Where does your revenue really come from? Your revenue really comes from repeat business through the parts and service departments. Fixed operations, when run correctly, can finance your entire store. When I can have one training session out of a series of training sessions and through a group of 6 stores come up with $6,300,000 in new revenue opportunities. That is lunacy. Now, here's the other part that's lunacy. We do this for dealers all the time. I see this in just about every cohort that I train. I put a group of dealers in a room. We go through a curriculum. We do a lot of questions and answers, a lot of interactivity. And through that interactivity, we find out this is a gap in their business. This is a missing process. This is an income opportunity. Let me share one more income opportunity with you. And this came from an on-site visit. I did an on-site visit at a dealership, and I noticed the technician was prepping a new motorcycle for sale. Not a big deal, right? You're going to put in a battery. You're going to charge a battery. You're going to put in a battery, right? You're going to check the fluid levels. You're going to check all the fasteners and the wheels and the axle nuts and the brake caliper bolts. And you're going to make sure that the thing is ready for the road. That's basically what they got to do. Okay. They bring the bike back to service and I watch, not making this up, a master level technician walk in to try and find the battery for this motorcycle. And their battery rack was a disaster. It was just basically a stack of batteries. So he had to find the correct battery. Then he had to fill the battery and charge the battery. It just goes on and on with how long this took. He spent 45 minutes locating and prepping the battery to put it on a charger so that hours could go by and he'd put it in the motorcycle and the motorcycle be ready to go. Okay. But let's just focus on the 45 minutes. I just want to focus on the 45 minutes, not the hours of charge time. I want to focus on the 45 minutes. Now, I also want to be clear, charging that battery for a few hours is not the proper way to charge a battery. It just isn't. So when you charge a battery for a vehicle, it needs to be charged overnight, 12 to 24 hours. It needs to be fully charged. When you do some kind of 2 or 3 hour trickle charge thing, enough to start the unit, the battery is not put out on the road fully charged and optimized, which means that battery's probably going to fail prematurely. And within a year, the customer is going to come in and require battery replacement, which most manufacturers will not cover. Just to be clear, most manufacturers will not cover battery replacement within the first year because it's not a defective part. It's defective workmanship on behalf of the dealership. And the OEM knows that, so they decline the claims and the dealers end up paying for these things. I'm just giving you all the details I can, okay? So not only is this place burning the 45 minutes to find the battery and get it prepped for the motorcycle, they're also going to end up paying $150 or $200 for a battery and installation within the next year anyway. So I want to be super clear about what I'm trying to fix here. I'm trying to fix a ticked off customer experience. So that's one, right? We want customers to be happy. We want to reduce friction with customers. I want the technician to be able to get the job done in 5 to 8 minutes instead of 45 minutes. And I want the battery to be properly charged so that we don't have to suffer that expense over the next 12 months, 10 to 12 months. All right, so I've set the stage. I'm watching. 45 minutes goes by. I ask them, how many motorcycles? Let me grab my phone for this one, right? It's been a while since I figured out the math here on this, right? So let's go to calculator. I'm in the calculator and I say, how many motorcycles a month do you deliver? And they said about 350. Okay. So 350 times 45. That's 45 minutes, right? So that's going to give me 15,750 minutes. Okay. So let's divide that by 60 and we get 262 hours, 262.5 hours. Okay. I want you to see the way my brain works. Okay. This is the way my brain works. Every activity that we take in a service department equals revenue in one way or another. Every single activity we take in a service department equals revenue in one way or another. So 262.5 hours. Now, how much is the labor rate? At this particular store, the labor rate is $155 an hour. So 155 equals. I wish that I was making this up. I wish. That means the revenue opportunity for them is $40,687.50. Now, remember I said that was a 45-minute thing, right? And it should take 5 to 8 minutes. Let's go ahead and take off, I'm going to say times 0.8. Okay? Because I want to be super realistic here. So I'm going to take 20% off of that number and I'm going to say, let's subtract. So it was a 45-minute distraction to find the battery. Let's take 20% off of that because that's what it should have taken realistically, right? Get a battery and put it in a motorcycle. It should take that long. By the way, the battery, if they store the batteries correctly, they are pre-filled, pre-charged, first in, first out. And they're prepped in between jobs or a lot person does it. So the technician who is flat rate is not wasting time filling and charging batteries. Just to be clear how this works. Okay. So that takes me to $32,550. $32,550. Folks, that's per month in labor revenue. That's just labor. Now, most well-run power sports dealerships are going to average a 1-to-1 ratio on parts and labor. So what does that mean? That means that by them storing their batteries like monkeys, they are charging themselves, and I'm going to just do it on the calculator just to make sure I get the number right. They're charging themselves $65,100 in revenue opportunity every month because they're too lazy to take care of their batteries the correct way. Folks, I can't make this. I mean, look at that. $65,100 per month. Per month. So if I was to say for the year, and you know what? I'm not even going to do by the year. I'm not even going to do by the year. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to say for 10 months. Let's just say that we average that out for a 10-month period because, there's only really 50 working weeks in a year. Christmas and December can be dead for a lot of folks. So I'm going to say, okay, let's just count 10 months. 10 months. $651,000 in lost revenue opportunity because you're too lazy to store your batteries the proper way. Now, I gave this dealership a quote, not for me to do the work. I went and got them a quote from a third party. And I said, this company can come in, set up a professional battery rack for you with an Optimus charging system, and you can preset all the batteries ready to go, organized in line, first in, first out, all that for all the units that you sell. Putting in a battery from this point forward should take 5 to 8 minutes, not 45 minutes plus 3 to 4 hours of charging and then a 2-hour non-warranty replacement 10 to 12 months later. And I said, so you have to do that. And it was like $2,500 for the quote. I said, plan on $3,000, right? Always plan extra. So plan on $3,000. They're going to run into something putting it in. Maybe you need to, upgrade your electrical service or something like that, right? I don't know. I said, you got to spend $3,000 and you got to put in a little effort here and train your people on how to do these batteries correctly. You know what they didn't do 4 months later? They didn't buy the rack. They didn't buy the charger. They didn't fix their battery problem. I showed them on paper, hey, here's $650,000 a year that you're leaving laying on the floor of your service department. All you got to do is pick it up. Now, before you say, Kurt, that doesn't make sense. They could have, even if they create that opportunity for revenue, they still have to sell the work, right? Maybe they're saturated in their region and they couldn't sell the work. Folks, this dealership has like a 5-week, has had like a 5-week backlog to get into service during the busy season. 5-6 weeks it took to get an appointment there. So they had the work. I got to be super, super clear about this. They sold 350 units a month. They had work. They had a backlog of service customers to come into their service department. Do you know why I keep saying had? I keep saying had because they went out of business 2 years ago. That's like one of the hardest things to look at. I look at a business that has every opportunity to thrive. You have the traffic to sell 350 new units a month. You have a backlog in your service department. You can create literally millions of dollars of revenue through service, and you still can't figure out how to run a profitable business out of this wonderful facility that was geographically landlocked and had every advantage to succeed. It's because people won't do the work to find the success. Everybody's looking for an easy button. They wanted to know from me, like, hey, how do we sell more oil changes to everybody that comes in this? If we sold an oil change on every ticket, that would add millions of dollars. Like that fake guru nonsense doesn't get you anywhere, right? When someone looks at your consumable sales and goes, well, your battery sales are low, you should probably sell more batteries. Where did that come from, genius? I'm not selling batteries to people that don't need batteries. I'm not selling fuel filters to people that don't need fuel filters. I'm not selling brake pads to people that don't need brake pads. That was one of the things when I worked for Ducati. They had come up with this idea that they weren't selling enough brake pads when I worked for Ducati. And so there was this giant dealer push throughout the Americas on, how we're going to sell more brake pads to dealerships. Well, and it didn't make any sense because the brake pads from Ducati were hundreds of dollars, and the brake pads from Parts Unlimited were tens of dollars. So if I was a dealer owner, I wouldn't be buying my brake pads from Ducati anyway. I'd be buying them from a vendor that sold them to me for pennies on a dollar. That's what I'm talking about, right? When you are a dealer, you need to run your business from a dealer-oriented perspective. You cannot run your business from what the OEM thinks is in your best interest. Because newsflash, it's not in your best interest. It's in the OEM's best interest. I wrote the training for the OEMs. I know what they're thinking. That's why the Powersport Academy is all based on dealership perspective. So I want you to, oh man, I really caught myself going off today, didn't I? I want to check real quick just to make sure I'm not missing any chats. James Lau says, good morning. Dude, totally. You caught me on a rant today, man. Good morning, James, right? Let me put that in there. James is awesome, by the way. James works in the WordPress space. He's like a peer of mine, and he is just super fantastic. He's up in the Northeast. He specializes with nonprofits. You need a website for a nonprofit, you want to look up James Lau. You want an e-learning website or a membership website, you come to Manana No Mas and we get you taken care of there. All right. Now, the reason I feel like I'm going on such a rant today is I'm looking at business. So I'm looking at my own business. The thumbnail I made today was like, stop doing this in business, right? And it was investing in losers or spending time with losers or whatever it was that I wrote there. I took a really hard look at how I spend my time. I do a lot of podcasts. I like podcasting. I enjoy podcasting. Dare I say I'm fairly passionate about podcasting. I spend a lot of time doing it. Does it make me any money? No. Doesn't make me any money. I don't even charge for sponsors. So I'm not making any money podcasting. I do it because I like to do it. So is it really business? Well, yeah, because it does drive some traffic and it does have some results. But I have to be real about it. Like, it's not creating revenue. It's not really creating opportunity unless clients come to me and say, I saw your podcast. I want to buy your services. I saw your podcast. I want to buy your services. Like if someone watches this episode, watches this live right now and goes, holy crap, I need Kurt to come into my business and show me how to double my revenue. Well, then this worked perfect. Okay. But if no one hires me off of this, then I'm just sharing information to share information. Just being really honest with you. I started looking at the things that I do that are profitable, that have margin. When I do power sports training, I make good margins. Ain't gonna lie. I have the best training in the country. I get the best results. I make good margins. I get paid well to do what I do. And to be honest with you, looking at the results we've been getting, I don't think we charge enough. Like I'm literally thinking of taking it from $45,000 for a year of training to like $79,000 for a year of training. I'm just being honest with you because the results that we drive is worth it. And the more painful I make it for the dealer to have to pay for the training, the higher the opportunity is that they're going to push their people to find success through what is taught. If I gave it away for $1,000, right, I would still have fun doing the training. It's something I love to do. But if the dealer only paid $1,000 for it, they wouldn't think it was like a big deal, right? If I make it a bigger deal, if it's 45 grand a year, the dealer's like, I paid 45 grand for this. Y'all going to do something, right? And so there's a sense of accountability that comes through the pain point of pricing. And so I've literally been thinking about almost doubling the price because the results we get are so stellar. Okay. Now, so there's that. What do I spend a lot of time on? I spend a lot of time on WordPress projects. I spend a lot of time on meeting with people to give them advice, sometimes paid, sometimes free, about working on the internet, right? About building e-learning platforms, about working with SCORM, about working with different page builders, about plugin choices for websites. Now, this all sounds fairly technical, right? I am an expert in the field, but when I look at my revenue is this much from that activity. Just being honest with you. It's this much from that activity. So then I have to ask myself, why am I putting so much effort into growing Manana No Mas and web services and hosting and all these things that we do? It takes a ton of work. It takes a ton of communication with customers, and it doesn't create a lot of revenue. I could change the model. I could say, well, from now on, I'm only doing 6-figure projects, but then I'm probably not going to sell a project but once or twice a year. Right. So I got to be realistic about the market space that I'm in and the value I can drive through it. So the things that I love the most and the things that drive my highest margins are when I teach other people how to grow their businesses. Now, what's ironic about this is if I focus on the consulting, and you'll notice if you look at the copy in the Manana No Mas website and you go to kurtvonanen.com and you see the copy there, which is changing, by the way. I'm in the middle of reformulating kind of how some of this messaging works. But that messaging basically talks about consulting first, web projects definitely second. So when I take on a web project from a client, when I propose working with them, I don't just propose, hey, give me your checklist and I'll build you a website. Like we're not just an agency that just says, oh, I could whip together a WordPress site for you real quick. That's not what we do. We consult with the customer and we find out, what tools do you need? What goals are you looking for in this business? Do you need community tools? Do you need a CRM built in? Are you going to do any online courses? How do you train your staff when you hire them? We ask these types of questions so we can build a project that meets their needs, that's commensurate with the size of their business and what they want to do with their use case. That's where the margins come in. The margins for me are on education, consulting, speaking, training, all of those things. The things that don't make me a lot of money are the things that people seem to know me the most for, right? Being the WordPress guy, being the Lifter LMS guy, working with WP Tonic. That work is this much of our money. The money that I'm seeking, obviously, is this, right? And so we are taking a very hard look at how we do that. Now, that's the same advice I give to my clients when I'm working with them. Where do you generate your revenue? What activities do you take that help you generate the most amount of revenue? And what activities do you spend the most amount of time on that generate basically no revenue? And in those situations, how come you're not delegating that out to a vendor? How come you're not hiring someone that's more efficient with that space? Right? I looked and I was spending like an hour and a half a day deleting spam messages out of my email inbox. So one of two things, either I need to stop checking my email inbox, period, like just ignore email, or I could hire somebody, or I could employ some AI tool to filter the email out. But if it saves me an hour and 15 minutes a day, right? And let's say I charge $300 an hour for my time, that's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 1,500 a week, 1,500 a week, 50 weeks in a year. Was that 65, 75? That'd be $75,000 of revenue opportunity for me if I just checked my email. James, I'm still getting over my cold. You're making me laugh. It says, but Kurt, you're a pretty good cook. I would pay for those barbecue smoker dishes. All right, James, I have looked. Now, you know that I love to cook. I have looked at having my own food truck. I thought, man, it would be so much fun to have a barbecue truck. It would be so much fun to have like an Italian food truck. And then I thought to myself, you know what? It'd be really fun to just have a food truck and serve whatever I wanted whenever I wanted, right? Like I do barbecue one time, I do Italian food another, I do Mexican food another. I thought that would be so much fun. I can buy brisket and I can get it for roughly $3.50 a pound. So let's say I get the brisket for $3.50 a pound. I spend 20 hours smoking the brisket, right? And then I hop in the van or the truck and I go and I have an event. Let's say I sell 50 plates of that brisket and those plates are $17, $18, right? And that's dang good money coming off a food truck, right? You're like, holy crap, that's a lot for a plate of food. But let's say it's $18 and it's 50 people, right? So that would be $900 that I would generate. But how much work and how much in supplies did I have to put in to make that $900? And I quickly learned that there is no money in the food truck business for me. No money in the food truck business for me. Not for what I want to serve anyway and how I want to serve it. So yeah, so here's what I'm doing anyway. I'm building a commercial cook center in my backyard, and I'm just going to invite people over and have parties and get-togethers and just entertain and do the things that I like to do. Not everything has to be a business. Sometimes we run business so we can afford to do the things we like to do. But that's where I'm going with today, folks. Stop doing the things that are losers. Stop investing in losers. Look at how you spend your time. Look at where you spend your focus and ask yourself, is this generating revenue opportunity for me, or is this really a liability? Is it really a liability? Now, I'm not going to give up WordPress. I'm not going to give up hosting. I'm not going to give up my agency. But I am going to focus more on the consulting, more on the training, more on helping people grow their businesses. Why? Because I'm passionate about doing it. The results are outstanding and I generate the most amount of margins doing it. So why not? Why not do the thing that I'm passionate about that generates all the money? Like, so that's where you're going to start seeing a lot more of our focus on. Have I not been focused on training? No, I've absolutely been focused on training. I mean, I still have the Power Sport Academy. We work with Hero Hub. I do the Marine Retailers Association. I mean, I've got all that working, but we can increase that workload. Like that workload for me right now is like 12 hours a week, right? So if I were to say, okay, instead of 12 hours a week, let's say I want to do 25 or 30 hours a week. If I do 25 or 30 hours a week, focused in that area, in that vertical, right? I'm not just going to double my revenue. I have the opportunity to quadruple my revenue in that space. If I quadruple my revenue, do you think my wife's going to be happy? Yeah, my wife's going to be happy. And I'm still not even working full time at it. And then I can take a little bit of pressure off and I can treat people nicer and I can be more relaxed and sell more in the WordPress development and hosting space, right? And maybe I just put 15 or 20 hours a week into that. But that's the idea. Instead of spending 30 hours a week on something that makes this much, right? I could spend 10 or 12 hours a week and make that much. I'm going to make the same. But if I go into the training, consulting, and speaking and leverage the experience and the intelligence that I've gained over the decades of working, I can quadruple my revenue. And so that's where the focus is going to be. And I'm encouraging you to do the same. Folks, if you have listened to some of this, and any of it hit home, if any of it hits home, go to kurtvanonen.com, book a call with me. Go to manananomas.com, book a call with me. Manana No Mas, going forward, we're in the middle of not a redesign. I don't want to call it a redesign, but we're tweaking some content there where we're going to be very focused on, we're a digital agency. We're focused on WordPress as a solution. We provide hosting. We have different packages available. Boom, boom, boom. Like boom, right? kurtvanonen.com. That's going to talk about being an author, speaker, coach, consultant. All of that's going to go there. You're going to notice, if you've been paying attention, we've got some other projects like servicewriterbook.com, actionleadershipteam.com, things like that. Those sites, those projects are going to consolidate into kurtvanonen.com. And over time, we are going to break those down. Right. So instead of having these distraction sites up that I do, and to be clear, they were cool portfolio pieces back in the day, like one's an Elementor site, one's this, one's that. Okay. I don't need that anymore. And they're not generating a lot of traffic. So what we're going to do is we're going to put the books, the courses, the training, everything from those sites is going to migrate over to kurtvanonen.com. And in kurtvanonen.com, you're going to see access to all of our podcast episodes. You're going to see access to all of the books that we've published. You're going to see access to all of the courses that refer back to the books. And then you're going to have the opportunity to book me for speaking, coaching, and training. All right, folks, that's it for now. Obviously, I've got a lot of work to do. So I'll talk to you guys later. Hope you have a wonderful day. James says, so not the long game, not the long game, not the long game. I think I am talking about the long game, be honest with you, James. The long game for me, I'm 58 years old. I'm going to focus more and more on training, coaching, teaching, consulting. I want people to be able to benefit out of, the 20 years of automotive industry work that I have, the 20 years of service writing, service managing work that I have, the 10 years of working for the original equipment manufacturers, right? Working for large corporate entities in distribution. I want others to be able to gain some wisdom and some traction off of that experience that I have, rather than having to learn everything the hard way. When I think about how I had to learn what I know now, everything was School of Hard Knocks for me. I didn't really have a lot of mentors that would bring me up through things. And so when we say, what's the long game? The long game is this: as I get older, I'm going to do less and less hands-on, coding, developing, and making websites, right? I'm going to do a lot less of that. And I'm going to do more publishing, teaching, coaching, consulting, and helping other people ramp up. For example, we have the WP Agency Academy. The WP Agency Academy is set up to teach people like fresh out of school, how do you start an agency? How do you successfully start and launch an agency? No one in school teaches them that. No one in school teaches. When I speak at the schools, I say, how many people are familiar with WordPress? And only a couple of hands go up. And then well, how many people think they would like to work for themselves? All the hands go up. How many people know how to start a sole proprietorship? None of the hands go up. It's the weirdest thing. The kids are coming out of the school system with certain things they're very knowledgeable about, and other things they have no knowledge whatsoever. And so what I did was I created the WP Agency Academy so I could teach people how to make a successful WordPress agency right out of the chute. And so we've started pushing that. Now we've got a local apprenticeship program called Sunflower Launch. It's based on the same curriculum, but we do that one in person. WP Agency Academy is meant for distance learning. So that's that. James, as always, man, I love you coming. I love you coming to the show. Have yourself a wonderful day. And yeah, you hit me up yesterday and asked if I was feeling better. And I feel better. I feel better. My voice is back for the most part, but this nagging cough is not going anywhere. So hopefully, if you're the praying types, folks, pray for my health, pray for my healing, and we'll go from there. Folks, have a wonderful day. This one went a little bit long. I went on a bit of a rant, but I wanted you to know what the results are from working with a qualified consultant. Whether it's me or someone else that you hire, if you're in business, consider having a consultant or a mentor look at your business from the outside in. Sometimes the perspective can be astounding. All right. Have a great one. Talk to you soon. Bye bye.